Hello, hello, hello! It's Emma Jo here from Lavinia Stamps, and in this video, which is part 2 of Hootenanny, A Hootenanny, we are going to be putting to use all those fabulous backgrounds that we made last week, or in the last video, and I'm going to be showing you how we put those characters in, how we make the story evolve with text and with our stamped characters. So let's just have a look at what we're doing this week. Okay, so this is how it should turn out. So you can see our double page spread now says, and they weren't the only ones, because some other people, if you remember in the previous part of the story, in this page, they had some bees that were rather interested in them. And so that's where we left them, that the bees were interested and they weren't the only ones. So who else do you think could be interested? There's a couple of clues. I know. I'm really sorry if this does sound a little bit classroomy, but you know, I can't change who I am. It's just the way I am. Okay, so they had flown into the middle of a... What do you think it is? Sorry, that is a really primary school teacher. Bear with. They'd flown into the middle of a hootenanny. And there we go. So we've got mice and we've got one of them saying gulp because he's in the middle of a whole load of owls. So this is fab fun, I think. And just right for where we're at in that story. These mice are having a great adventure, aren't they? They're going all the way through everything and they're joining in, which is a good thing. So anyway, enough chat from me. Come on, let's go and have a go. Let's see how it's done. Right, so we're starting with stamping characters. And you can see from this that I've got Ginger and Gus, but I've written not Erwin. So we're using VersaFine Clair. We're popping our stamp on an acrylic board. And this is Gus. And we're just going to be stamping this up a couple of times. And this is the Ginger stamp. I love these owl stamps because, especially Ginger and Gus, because of their tilted heads, it just has so much character, doesn't it? Now you can see that I haven't stamped the whole stamp. I'm just doing the head there. Because, to be honest with you, I'm probably only going to use the head on a couple of them. This is Bijou. Oh, this sweet little stamp. The owlet, I suppose. And again, all done in VersaFine Clair Nocturne. So that's the topper stamp. And this is from the Thayer stamp set. And I'm just doing the monocle. Now, I've done lots of this because I thought, I might need a lot. And as it turns out, I didn't really. Anyway, so we've got the small pixies stamp, one of the small pixies, and the Hoot, the word Hoot, from the Nightfall stamp set. Now, this one, we've got Basil and Bibi. And I think that's Tilly and Tango. Mice. And we got one of the fairy foragers there. Next is cutting and ripping. Hurrah! So I'm going to try and speed this all up because you really don't need to see me cutting all of these out. But we will do some of them slowly. This is the topper. Now, I'm going to cut around the larger sections of the stamp. But when it comes to that lovely curled edge, I'm going to leave that little bit in there, round by the curl. Okay, and cutting out the Hoot, because we might need a few of them. And we're literally doing it as a rectangle, like that. Magic. Now you don't need to see me cut out Irwin because we know that I'm not going to use it. So we're just going to rip around the mice. And I try and do that in a circle. And then if I need to go any closer, I can rip into that again. So these are quite speedy because, again, I don't think you really need to see me do that much slower. So again, we're going around Bijou in a similar way that we've done the mice. Don't worry if you rip into the stamp, just stop, quickly put that piece of paper back down again and go and rip further out. There we go. Bijou. Now, one of the, I think it's the Gus stamp, and I have cut the eyebrow, the top of his head off. I really want to just get to the eyebrows. You might have seen me do this before, but I think it gives a wonderful 3D effect. And the eyebrows are such a lovely part of the owl stamps and so expressive that you don't want to lose them underneath a hat. Okay, so I'm roughly cutting out around the edges of these owls. You can rip these, you know, and you'd have the same effect. Well, no, you probably have a less obvious line, but it just really depends. It's a matter of taste and what you want to do this time round. There we go, roughly cutting around the outside of my owls. Until we get a little family like that. And I'm popping the topper on top of Ginger and making sure that any of the feather bits on the outside edge of the stamp are cut away so it doesn't look like that hat has just been plonked on top. It has to look like they're actually being worn. You with me? So just pop it in place, hold it in place, and then make a couple of cuts so you can see where you've got to cut away. So that in the end, with a little bit of Bippity Boppity glue, you can pop your hat onto your owl, and then pop your eyebrows that you've already cut out, again using Bippity Boppity glue, onto the brim of the hat. Just like that. Colourful characters. So now we're going to colour them. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I love colour. And if you remember the backgrounds, yeah. So anyway, this is Elements Ink Confetti, and basically I am just roughly colouring, and that, now there's a reason behind it. Roughly colouring, the pink is the Elements Ink Confetti, this blue is Elements Ink Blue Atoll, and I'm just giving touches of colour. Because this stamp is so stunning, I want the line of the stamp to do the work. So my eyebrows, or rather the owl's eyebrows, are going to be glittery yellow Posca pen. Go around the outside of the eyes too and do the beak in the glittery yellow. And that's the laces on the hat. So it might look quite bleached out, and that's okay, because once we put it onto those backgrounds, you'll be able to see them, almost like they're camouflaged, but not, so they're not in your face. So this is Elements Ink Sundance, a size 9 stencil brush, and we're just going around the outside of Bijou. We've already coloured one mouse with it. This is mouse number 2, please. And a little bit around the light on Basil's lamp, and that was Elements Ink Green Sleeves, just behind where it would be darker. Now we're going in with Elements Ink Confetti. There we go. Building up that colour slowly. And this is Blue Atoll. So once you've decided on your colours, stick with them. Keep them as your palette. So, sticking. I reckon there's going to be Bippity Boppity Glue, methinks. So we're going to pop our characters into place. With Bippity Boppity Glue, I've got one mouse there, the other mouse just above, along that stripe. So you imagine, I've obviously decided that bit needed more glue. Okay, so stick them down. Let's get this fairy put in place as well. Or is he a pixie? Anyway, get this magical being, and he is a small pixie. Now, I know, why did you choose to do all these, Emma Jo? So, I'm going around them as if they are goggles. Trust me, all will become clear soon. So if you cut around the circles, but sort of leave a gap. Okay, get your black Posca pen and do a curved line with it on the right hand one. And these are eyes, okay? So you've got eyelids, one that's open and one that's shut. And that's what we're doing. And the second one. Here you go. I'm just colouring in almost all of those circles, but leaving that little bit at the outside edge, so it looks like a pair of eyes looking in one direction. Honest gov. And if you want to do a little bit of shading, I'm just using my masking fluid brush with a little bit of water and some of that wet black Posca. Now to do the shading, you're going to need a more water than you are Posca, so be prepared. Okay, so now we're going to glue those down with a little bit of Bippity Boppity glue. And I've decided one is going to be on the left-hand page in the darker bits, and one is going to be on the right-hand page. Now what are we sticking now? Aha, I reckon it could be another mouse. No, it's not. Okay, so that is our small pixie, and the one on the left was our fairy forager. So now we are adding the owls. So just place your owls, now that you've cut them all out, around your page. You know, you start to work out where you want them to fit. See, Owen was just too big, so he's going to be removed. He just doesn't know it yet. There we go. So you can see it's just Ginger and Gus that are going to be used on that page anyway. And what I've done is I've put it where it's going to be on the crease. I've put that owl as close as I can and just creased it with my finger so I know where to cut. And the same there. So it fits. Magic. And you do the same. Any bit that overhangs, just crease it so you know where to cut. Use your finger, just apply a bit of pressure. Add some Bippity Boppity glue to glue it down. Smudge it in with nature's spatula, your finger. And again. And you can see the one with the top hat has come in at a very kooky angle, but the whole idea of that is fun. You know, just doing something like that screams humour, which is what we want. We want quirky character in this. It's what makes a story interesting. character. There we go. We've got one owl upside down. But if you imagine they're all looking from branches and you're sort of in the middle of it, maybe that's what it would look like. Maybe. And here we have Basil with his little lamp in the middle of it all. Now, time for Bijou. Where's Bijou going to go? Well, we're moving on to another page now. And he's just going to go there. With, who's this one? BB, I think. That was off camera, so you have to imagine that bit. Now, looking at the Hoot words from the Nightfall set, cut them out and stick them around your owls. I'm not sure owls say anything other than hoot, I suppose to wit to woo, but we'll just go with hoot. Using your Posca pen, give your eyes some highlight. Now we've got Elements Ink Sundance, and we're just adding a bit of yellow around the outside of each owl, and it sort of takes them into being part of that picture rather than just hovering on top. Oh, full shot of my arm, sorry about that. And I'm adding some yellow to that white stripe in the middle of the page before. Not too much, but just enough to make it look like it's part of the design. So with your black Posca pen, you can do a couple of little lines, a bit like speech marks, around the hoot. Just like that. There we go. Now, this is the Vine Branch stamp, and I'm inking it up with VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Now, because this page is lumpy bumpy because of all the pages that have gone before, you're not necessarily going to get a clear print. Do not panic, my friend, because it's all about texture. So we're just using the very top of that stamp to create the edge of a tree, like foliage. Foliage. And we carry that idea on, not for too long, but just adding little bits. Because if you do too much, it then becomes over the top. You can over-egg the pudding, as my mother would have said. Now this is from the Vine set. She says confidently. And that's your mini leaf creeper, just doing those little bits. You know where you thought, oh, that doesn't look clear enough? You can use this to just fill in some gaps. Okay, so I'm doing that around the eyes as if these owls are looking out from amongst the branches. And the mini leaf creeper complements that vine branch so well. So, Posca pen accents. The good thing about this is I get to use aqua green Posca pen. No. Seriously, the vine branch and the mini leaf creeper have these lovely little pod shapes that you can fill in with accents of colour. Can you see how I'm doing that there? So you still get the outline of the stamp, but you get to give it a little touch of colour. And that can help to lift your stamp and your picture. So that's what I'm doing. You don't have to do all of it, but sometimes you might even want to do your own couple of dots here, there and everywhere to add to it. Feel free, go ahead. And you carry that on across the pages, around the owls. Isn't that lovely? I love how this slowly comes to life. Doing a little bit more up the top there. And the story is coming now. And they weren't the only ones. Now this is referring to the little, the bees were very interested in them in the pages before. And now we've said, and they weren't the only ones. And all I've done is easy to read, printed writing with a black Posca pen. And just at the end of each line, I've added little dots. And that seems to lift it into a fun font. Okay, so that's what it looks like. What's happening over here? Aha! That poor little Basil with his lamp was quite scared about being in the middle of a whole load of owls, so he's gulped. That's what that was. So rip 3 pieces of paper, multifarious card, and using Elements Ink Sundance and a size 9 stencil brush, colour that in roughly, and then add your text. So we're starting with the first bit, which says, they had flown, into, using the same idea, easy to read, printed text, that we then add bobbles or dots onto the end. So it now says, they had flown into the middle of what? That's Bippity Boppity Glue. Look how everything all is coming together now. They had flown into the middle, hello, of a, I'm glad we finished that bit off, of a what though? This is where we find out. So I'm being very brave here. Just black Posca pen. And carrying on that theme, it's just easy to read, printed writing with bobbles on the end, and tap using your stencil brush. If you put your Posca pen underneath a size 9 stencil brush and tap, you should get splatters of black ink, which looks fab. This is the musical notes large because I thought BB deserved to be making music. So that's why we've done that with Versifying Clair Nocturne. Now, I'd forgotten their wings, hadn't I? So Versifying Clair Nocturne and the stamp Wet Wings. And we're just cutting out the wings, colouring them in. I'm using apple green Posca pen there and aqua green, and it will be a bit of yellow as well. So just vary it. Add a little bit of yellow over the top. That's Elements Ink Sundance to you. And some Stickles Icicle. Now, that will give us a bit of bling. Bling is good. So with a bit of Bippity Boppity, you can see I've cut that those wings into 2. So one of the mice is wearing half of it and the other one's wearing the other. So they've flown into the middle of a Hootenanny. And so they joined in. These mice do a lot of that, you know, joining in. So that's my icicle again. And as you can see, I'm doing that to every wing I can find. And a little bit of gold stickle around Basil's lamp. And yes, my friends, you did it. I hope you like that because I really love it. Those backgrounds are superb. Well done. I am so pleased with how this has turned out. It's got a lovely flow from one page to the other. The text makes sense. Our little characters, you can see they're having fun. How do you feel it went? I think it went okay. Yeah? Look at those lovely colours. Those dinkles are absolutely amazing. Pop them in a needle tip bottle and my goodness me, what joy, what fun. So, my friends, thank you very much for coming along and having a go with me today. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. If you've got any comments you'd like to make about this journal page or the journey we're going on, please feel free to just pop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to get back in touch with you as soon as I can. But you know, in the meantime, have fun, happy crafting, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.